Hello, welcome to SharePoint Charts Complete Training. This is the first session, and in this session we're going to learn how to summarize data. We'll need to be able to do totals and counts based on SharePoint lists and put that into a summary list. We'll be walking through all the steps, and you can do everything that I show in this video by just following along and using the files and references on the website. Just use the link below the video to access that information and follow along. Alright, let's begin. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is a site to practice and do your training. You can call that site whatever you want. What matters is that you want to make sure that you use a modern SharePoint team site. And I do want to emphasize that these templates are available and work specifically in SharePoint Online or SharePoint Server Subscription Edition. If you do not have those versions of SharePoint, you will not be able to take advantage of these charts. So be sure to review the information on the website which describes those prerequisites. The other part, of course, you do need to have a subscription to the SharePoint dashboard site in order to have access to all of the charting templates. If everything is there, then you're ready to begin this training. So this is a brand spanking new team site in SharePoint. The first thing I really want to do is just get rid of this boilerplate page and replace it with my own. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do new page, and I'll call it, let's see, I'll do create page, and let's call it SharePoint Charts Training. I'm going to get rid of my name off of there and change the image. Let's see what kind of charting images we've got here. Sure, that's fine. I'm not going to be picky. And I'm going to change this to use image and title. Sure, that's fine. Get rid of the box on the side, or the text box in the middle. Publish. And I want to make that my home page. So I'll go to Pages, and I'm going to select the ellipsis and then make home page. So now I don't have the the boilerplate. This will be useful so I can update as I'm working along and building out all of these different charts that we're going to be doing for training. Okay, so the next thing I want to do for this training session, we're going to be creating two SharePoint lists, and I've provided files for you which you can download from the SharePoint Dashboard's website. Again, just follow the link below and you can find that in the site. So this is under the Prepare Summary Data section, and that is the training that we're doing right now. So just click on those links and that will download those files to your local computer. Okay, once those are on your computer, now we can import that and create SharePoint lists from that. So I'm going to go up here and do new list, and then this is going to be from Excel. And I'm going to do upload file, and I'm just going to browse to those files on my local computer. We'll start with help tickets. Okay, and then it asks me some questions. I just need to confirm some things. So obviously, we don't want date to look like that, so let's switch this to a date and time column. Now those look normal. And then, sure, the description title can match up with the title field. And then we just need to scan across. Category and status fields, those are going to be of choice type, so be sure to switch those. We've got a cost field. That's showing number. You can switch that over to currency and just click next, and then let's stick with the default names for training just to be consistent. So this ticket or this list is going to be called help tickets, and we'll let it show in the site navigation and click create. And that was quick, all done. Okay, so there is our help tickets list. So what is this list? This is just some dummy data of help tickets. It's showing different categories of help tickets and different statuses. And then, we've got some costs related to that. This is just dummy data for us to play around for the sake of training. And just for fun, let's go ahead and just use some of the out-of-the-box stuff. So we'll do column settings, format this column, and we'll let it do the choice pills. Hit save. And then category, do format this column. Let's do background colors. I think it's being a little slow for me. I was expecting that to change colors for me. That didn't save for some reason. Let me try that again. There it goes. Maybe there's some background processes still going. Let's just leave that this way. So that just is making things look a little bit nicer. Now we want to create another list from our second Excel template. So I do new list, and this will be from Excel again. And this time we're going to upload the help ticket summary. That's our second list that we're going to create. Okay, title is fine. And then these columns will be used to store a total count based on some matching filters. So notice those are already matching as number based on the Excel workbook that was uploaded. So I'm just scanning across just to make sure I don't see anything unusual. Everything's fine. I can just click next. This one will be called help ticket summary. I'll click on create, and it will create that second SharePoint list. Okay, there it is. Now, in the case of this one, there's no data in it. There is some data, actually. That's just because I was playing around with this earlier. Let me edit and get rid of that. When you upload yours, you won't see anything in there. Save. Okay. All right, so that's all we need. What you might do is you can link to these from the home page if you want, or just use the site navigation on the left-hand side. Either one's fine. Okay, so what are we going to do? Let's start out by talking about what we have out of the box in SharePoint in terms of getting totaling and that type of thing. So let's do this. Let's create a summary view to get us the total count on the number of tickets, and then also get a sum for the cost. So let's do, I want to create another view. Didn't show me the option I wanted to right away. There we go. Save view as, let's do summary. That just copies that view, and now I'm going to modify that. I go back to that drop down. Now I've got all items in summary. I'll do edit current view. It's going to pop open a new window, and then I'm going to go down here, and we're going to take advantage of what's available in SharePoint view settings. For this one, I'm just going to do some totaling. So I'm going to go to totals. What I'm interested in is a count. I can do that on the title column. And then I will also do a sum on cost. I'm just going to get those two and then just hit OK. And what you're going to see is it's going to update and give me that information in the bottom. So there you see in the bottom, count 62. We've got 62 help tickets, and then it's giving me the total amount in this cost column. So that's pretty quick and easy to do. And for many of you who are SharePoint veterans, you're probably used to working with those settings. Generally speaking, that's a pretty easy concept. Another thing I can do to get counts is I can do some grouping. So let's do this. Let's do a group by and use the status column. So let's do summary status. Let me make another view. I'll do save view as summary status. And once again, I'm going to come down here and do edit current view. This time I'm going to turn on grouping. So there's a group by setting, and I'm going to group by status. And then I want those to be expanded, and let's take a look at what SharePoint will give me for this view. Just got to do a refresh. Okay, so now it's actually breaking it down by those groups. So now I have more detailed information. I can see the number of records by status. So I've got 3 canceled, I have the total cost for canceled, and I can scroll down and look at those by status. Now I also have this category field. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through that, but I'm sure you can see you could use the exact same process to group by category, and I can make a separate view just for that information. So generally speaking, that's fast and easily accessible in SharePoint. And for the sake of this training, we're wanting to do charting. That's the kind of information we're looking for. But there is a challenge as it relates to that method of getting counts and summary totals. And the problem is that that information is aggregated and shows in the UI, but it's not accessible for the sake of our templates. That's where we need to have a second list to write those values back to. So I have this help ticket summary list, and that's where I want to get those total counts. Now, of course, what I can do is come to the help tickets, and I could manually get that information and just do some copy or paste or fill in those values. But that's not automatic, and it's not going to automatically update for me, so that's not a very elegant solution. Easy to see this information, it would be pretty easy for me to manually enter that in help ticket summary, but what we really would like is to have something that happens automatically so that we don't have to make those updates ourselves, and that's where workflow comes in. And that's what we're going to focus on for the remainder of this training session. So what we want to do is get that information and write that back to this list. This is where we want to get those summary totals, and that is the way we need to get our data and have it ready so that it's available to match up with some of the charting templates that we're going to use from the SharePoint dashboards platform. Okay, so now let's get into Power Automate. And we will need Power Automate to do this workflow to gather this information for what we're going to do. I do want to note in the charting section, you're going to see some detailed information which you can reference in addition to this video. So this will show you some screenshots and reminders which you can reference either during or after the video training to help show you what we're doing here. But we're going to do all the steps during this session. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a new flow. Normally what you're going to do is schedule this to run on a reoccurring basis. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to do instant cloud flow because I just want to manually trigger this. And I'll select that first option and do create. Okay, so it's creating my flow for me, and let's go ahead and name that. I'll say get tickets summary data. Okay. And then the first thing I need to do in my flow is get items. I need to get all of the records from my main SharePoint list. So I'm going to type get items and select that SharePoint get items action. And you need to select the site address of the site that you just created. My site's just called charts. And then you need to select the list from which we're gathering information. So we're getting information from the help tickets list. We're going to write that back to the help tickets summary list. Okay, and then we'll keep going on. We need to do settings. Let me rename that first. I'm going to say get help tickets items. Do recommend that you name all of your actions specifically. It makes it a lot easier in terms of selecting references later in the workflow. I need to change the settings. If I don't change the settings, Power Automate is only ever going to return a maximum of 100 records. In many cases, you need more than that. We do actually have less than 100 in this case, but just by way of example, in most cases, you will need to turn on pagination. You'll notice I toggled that on, and I normally set that at 5,000, which is the SharePoint list view threshold. So just change those two settings, and save early, save often, I like to say. Let's go ahead and save our workflow as a checkpoint before we proceed further. Now, it's going to give you a little warning on here. I'm going to show you guys a little trick. You don't have to do this, but Power Automate gets grumpy when you do a get items without any kind of filter. We do want all of our records, but I don't like seeing that warning. And a little trick that you can do is in the filter query expression, even if you want all of the records, you can do something like this. I can say ID not equal 0. So it's just ID, both capital letters, any, lowercase, and then 0. And that just says, get me all the records where ID is not 0. Well, ID is never 0. And the entire reason I did this was just to make Power Automate stop giving me a warning about that get item. So it's just a trick. You don't have to do that. It's a way to suppress that warning dialog. Okay, so far so good. This is getting all of the records from my help tickets list, which is exactly what we want to do. Now, the next thing we want to focus on is getting counts. We want to know what we're going to focus on is we want to know the total number of records by status. So if I go back over to SharePoint, you're going to see there's different status values for these tickets. And we're trying to prepare summary data so that we could do something like a pie chart, which will show us, 10 tickets are in progress, 15 are reported, so on. And so there's 5 different status values that we're looking for. Canceled, complete, in progress, on hold, reported. So how do I get those counts? The way that we're going to do that is with a command which is called filter query. Okay, so I'm going to do a new action, or filter array. I said filter query, it's filter array. Okay, so here's what we do. We need to reference the preceding block, and it is smart, and it knows, oh, you must mean that, so I just click on the option on the right. And then what we're interested in is the status value. Now I can type here where it says search dynamic content, type status. Now this is key. Do not select status. That will return an object and you will get an error. It's very aggravating. Whenever you're referencing a choice column, you need to select instead status value. That returns back the text. Okay? We want records where status value is, we'll start with canceled since that's the first one on my list on the other screen. Okay, and I like to name all my blocks. So let's call this, let's see, canceled. Well, we'll do canceled tickets. Okay. Now I can keep doing this over and over again. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do new step, and then I just do exactly the same thing over and over again. Filter array. This is good. You get some practice and become very familiar with doing this. Now notice there's more things appearing on the side, so just work carefully and make sure that you're selecting the right option. So I'm going to do the same thing I selected before for get help ticket items. Same thing again here. I need status value. Okay, second one was going to be complete. And I want to rename it. Complete tickets. Okay, and once you've done all that, you can collapse it down and just makes your interface a little bit cleaner. I've got 3 more to do. What this is going to do is just filter down that full set of whatever that was, 62 records, down to a smaller set where it's matching that specific filter that we've created. And then we're going to count that up for our summary list. Okay, so let me just keep going with this. Filter array. Just rinse and repeat. Okay, so I got to scroll, and more things will show on the right as I work along. So do that, and then status value again. There that is. And next one was going to be in progress. So this will be in progress tickets. Okay, and then we're going to do the next one. Filter array. Click in there. Scroll, scroll, scroll. And then status value again. Sometimes you got to do a little scrolling back and forth when you're working in Power Automate. Okay, this next one was on hold. I'm going to rename on hold tickets. And make sure that you're following all these steps as we're doing the training. This is hands-on training. So you're going to learn by wrestling with this yourself, duplicating all these steps and getting that hands-on practice. And that's what's going to really help it set in. Okay, so that's on hold. Everything looks good there. And then I'm going to do the last of these, filter array. There it is. Scroll, get what I need. There it is. Status value. There it is. And then the last one, which is reported. Reported. Rename. Reported tickets. Okay. So that takes care of those counts based on status. Now in our training session I'm not going to do it, but the summary list has slots to get counts also for the different categories. And that's something I leave to you to do for training. You can get those additional values. For the sake of this example, we're going to move on to the next part. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we want to get a sum, which is a bit different instead of getting a count. And we're interested in getting the sum of that column which has a cost in it. This is a little bit trickier, but I've provided you specific code and steps to help you do this part. And this is where the reference in the website is going to help you out. So if you go down this page, you're going to see a header that says get sums of numeric data. And we need to do some special commands for that. Now the first thing we need to do is a select command, and we're going to get the cost column doing that. So let's start with that. There's a series of 3 commands that we're going to do that work in connection with each other. Okay, so I go down here and I'm going to type select data operation. Okay, and then, all right, I click this little switch map thing over. You'll see why I did that in a second. All right, so for from, we're doing a select from the same thing we had done before. Let me scroll down. Show me a lot of options in here. Let's refer back. Let's make sure I pick the right thing here. Okay, and then we need cost. There it is. And what we should do is test as we're going along. So what I want to do is name this accordingly, just like I did in the other one. So I think I picked the wrong thing. Okay, I was afraid I might do that. Okay, let me delete. Delete. Do select. All right, I didn't write the second time. So I needed the value option there. And that's what's shown here. I got tangled up a little bit on that. So it's the value option for that. And now I'm ready to go on to the next step. I need to do, I'm going to call this select cost. And you do need to know when we make some references, it's going to have an underscore in there, and you'll see why that's important in a second, but just something to be aware of, but that's fine. I can call that select cost. And then the next thing I need to do is a compose action. Okay, so I'm going to do compose and pick the compose data operation. And now we're going to do a little bit of copy and paste. Okay, so I need to come over to the website, close that tab, it's tripping me up. Okay, and I'm going to go to these code snippets, and I want this first one right here. So just copy that and you can paste over like that. And then in here where it says your select output, I need to get rid of all of that. What it's telling you is you need to replace that with the reference in your own workflow. And at this point, I want the select cost output. So it's easy. I just click on that, and that is all that I need to do. But just like on the preceding steps, I want to have a good name for that. So I'm going to call this rename. This is converting this to JSON. So I'm going to call it JSON cost, just like that. That's the second of 3 steps related to get this sum. Now I'm going to do one additional step, which invokes a special command, an XPath command. This is another compose action. So do the compose data operation, and then on this part, you're going to do another paste. So you come back over the website, And now we need the second command. In this case, go to the expression option, you'll paste there, and then where it says your output name, that's where it needs to be JSON cost. But there's something you need to watch out for. If you have spaces like I do, you need to replace that with an underscore. So notice I referenced that as JSON underscore cost because I used a space in the description. Okay, and then I want to rename that again, and then I'm going to call this sum cost. So rename sum cost. Okay, and this just makes the last step easier for us. Okay, I'll save this. Okay, we've got everything gathered up and ready to go. The last step is to write it back to my SharePoint record. So that will be an update item command. And we only have one record in that summary list, which is going to make things very simple for me. In SharePoint, when you have a brand new list like this and it only has one record, the ID is always 1. So just to prove that to you, I will show or hide columns and I'll show you the ID. There it is. You can see it's ID 1. So that means in this update item command, I can simply reference my site and that list. In this case, it's the summary list. And I say update item with ID of 1. And now we're almost at the end of what we need to do for our training. We just need to put our values in here. Now I'm not updating the title field. It's already got a value. If I leave that blank, it'll know that it does not need to update that field. All these other ones are counts. Now some of these are categories. For this example, I'm just going to update those 5 statuses and then also the cost. Okay, let's start with the cost one. So that was calculated in the output that is labeled sum cost. Okay, so now that I've got all those references set up, I can just select that. Now you see why those descriptions are important. See how it says sum cost? I know that I'm picking the right thing. Okay, and then now I'm going to use a special length command. You're going to see how that's important in a second. So the way this works is I need to go in to the fields that I'm writing back to, and I need to go to the expression and type length. It even suggested that for me. Once I've got that up, it tells me what that is. It's expecting an array or a string, and it's going to get me a count for that. So length is actually really telling it to get you a count. I want to know how many of something. So for the count, that's just the total number of records, okay? So I can count the list of items from that first option, referencing that very first block in the flow, which just said bring me back all the records from the list. And then I'm going to need that length command also in referencing these arrays that I have set up, which is a set of records. So I'm going to just walk it right down through what I created. So I had canceled tickets, so I just keep using that length command over again. Okay, I just put the paren, and now you see why these labels are so important. See, I can easily see canceled tickets. I just click that, it inserts that into the expression, and then it's just rinse and repeat. I can do that 5 times. So we got to do canceled, and then the next one was going to be complete. Okay, I just scroll down. Complete tickets, there we go. and then after that we'll do in progress. Length. Now I need to find in progress. There it is. Okay. After we have two more. And after in progress, on hold. Length. Need to find on hold. I went right by it. There it is. And then reported was the last one. Select. Or did the wrong thing. I tripped up. I'm thinking about something else. Okay. Length. Reported. Okay, save. Okay, now I didn't test this out at all along the way. That's not a good approach. I do recommend that you work on your workflow incrementally, just to make sure you're on the right track. Helps you to know if you've got an issue as you're working along. But let's go ahead and run this and see what we come up with. Oh, okay, so it doesn't like some I did. I think I probably picked the wrong option on one of these. Not a problem. Okay, so I picked, I know what I did in one of these, so I'm going to fix that. So I'll just go back over here and edit. And I'm willing to bet that it is this one. Okay, so I picked the wrong option. Get help ticket items body. Let's try that again. Length. Body value is what I should have picked. Let's try again. Success. All right, let's take a look. Okay, 3 canceled, 5 complete, 16 in progress, 9 on hold, 29 reported, our summary cost and count. Beautiful! Congratulations, guys. We finished our training. So that may be challenging. I'll tell you in general, that's probably some of the hardest concepts that you're going to have to do in all of this charting training to build all these charts. So if this is unfamiliar territory to you and this seems a bit overwhelming, please do not despair. The information is posted on the site. That's why I included these code snippets. Even I get tripped sometimes, as you can see. But this is really important in order for you to be able to roll up that data and get it ready for charts. So thanks a lot for joining me for this first part of the training about how to get summary data ready in order to do charting. Now, you don't need to do this workflow on all the different kinds of charts. In fact, many of the charts don't need this at all. But there are some where you're definitely going to need to be able to work on this. If you're new to Power Automate, this is probably a lot to take in initially, but I would recommend to just replay the video, do practice, save and execute your workflow multiple times, just working in small steps so that you can kind of hit those checkpoints and make sure you're on the right track. The rest of the training is going to focus on actually applying the templates to your lists using the templates provided. And in general, there's far less steps that you need to go through in that case. So from that standpoint, it's a lot easier. We're going to be doing all the training in this training site that we had created at the beginning of the video. So make sure that you have your own dedicated site to work on this. For any reason you watched this video and you weren't following along with the steps, I encourage you to please start the video over again, download the examples, and try to follow along exactly with what I was doing in the video. Once you can execute that workflow, just like I showed in the training, you're going to be right on track, and then we're going to get to the fun stuff, where you can actually have those awesome looking charts being rendered from that SharePoint list data. So I do hope you found that useful. This is the beginning of a long series of videos which are going to show you how to do every kind of chart that you would ever want to be able to do in SharePoint. So there's lots of opportunities ahead, and if you have any questions, feel free to post those questions under the video, and I will try to follow up and answer any questions and put you on track if you have any issues there. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video on complete charting in SharePoint. Thank you.